This is a unique modern PowerApps application I designed and built using Copilot. And in this video, I'll show you how you can use Copilot to build yours. This video is the second in my PowerApps Copilot series. And in the first video, we learned how to use Copilot to hasten development time as regards data model creation, initial app build, as well as app customizations. In this video, we will take it a step further and learn how to use Copilot to design unique interfaces for our different PowerApps projects. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into the video. For today's demo, we will be building on the item request system we built in our previous video. And as usual, all apps and components built in my videos are available for download to channel members. So whether you prefer to be a little bit more hands-on or you want to use these apps and components in your projects, it's all available for download to channel members. So join the channel today for a premium experience. Now, Copilot has been generally available for quite a while, and there are different Copilots, each with their own specialty. In this video, we'll be using the free Microsoft Copilot, which is available to everyone. And you can use it by either downloading the app on your respective app stores or using the web version at copilot.microsoft.com. One of the functions of this Copilot is its image generation using OpenAI's DALL-E 3, and that is what we will use to design the homepage of our item request app. Now, the thing about generative AI models is that your prompts determine your output. What this means is that the less info you add in your prompt, the more the AI model will try to fill those gaps with its generative capabilities. The reverse is also the case, meaning that the more detailed your prompts, the better the output, since the AI won't have to fill in too many information gaps. This makes your output to have a higher quality and be more tailored to your needs. Prompt engineering is a skill I think everyone has to learn to get the best out of these generative AI models. The skill enables you to craft higher quality and knowledgeable prompts, which in turn influences the quality of your AI generated content, whether it be images or code or data summaries or text. Microsoft has a prompt engineering guide to enable you craft better prompts for Copilot, and I'll leave the link in the description. You should check it out once you get the chance. So now, let's craft our prompt. For our prompt to be specific, we need to know the details of what we are building. And as I said earlier, I want to use Copilot to design the homepage of my app. So let's iron out the details. The first question you ask yourself is, what is the primary instruction or main ask I'm giving to Copilot? And in our case, I want it to generate the homepage of our item request app. The next thing is, what info can I give to support the primary instruction? And since we are generating an image, you can interpret this question as, what do I want the image to contain? In our case, I want it to have a welcome message. I also want it to have 4 distinct menu items. Another supporting content is the colors you want to use on your app. A question I get asked a lot is, how do you get the color scheme you use on your apps? One of the tools I use is Color Hunt, and the link is colorhunt.co. So this allows you to browse different color schemes submitted by artists and designers worldwide. So you can check the popular colors, you can check random colors, and basically once you found the color scheme that you want to use or that you like, you can basically just copy the code. It has an RGBA code and the hex code. You can add the RGBA code to your PowerApps. This is the color that I'm going to be using for the app. And if you watch the first video of this series, you notice that this was the color that I've used for the item request app. I'm using this dark purple as my secondary color, and I'm using this magenta as my tertiary color. So one thing I noticed with Copilot was that it was giving inconsistent results when I was using color codes inside of the AI prompts. But I noticed the results tended to be better when I use the color names rather than the color code. So the next question is, how do you get the color names for this color codes? If you're like me that doesn't know color names, actually there is a tool that I also use for that. So that one is Coolors, and the link is coolors.co. So basically it also has like where you can explore different color schemes also, but I mostly just use Color Hunt for that. Then what we want to use is the generator, and you basically just need to copy the hex code of the color that you want to use. So the hex code for this one, you can just click it to copy it, and once you copy it, you can paste it inside of the picker here to overlock it. So you can see this one, the name of this one is dark purple, let's also get this one, paste it, and you can see the color name is magenta. So ordinarily I'll have called this one something like dark pink or pink.
You serious?
But basically this is actually the color names, and you can do it for as many colors as you need. Okay, so back to the drawing board. We have all of our supporting content. The last thing you want to ask yourself is that what info can I give to direct the AI model's output? This can sometimes be referred to as a cue. And since we are generating an image, you can interpret this question as what is the design style or art direction you want this image to take? And in our case, I want the image or the design to be modern looking, clean, and professional. So let's add that. So now that we've gotten all of our details, the primary instruction, the supporting content, and the cue, it's time to put all of that together to craft our prompt. So this is the prompt I've crafted, and let's read it out. Generate a modern looking homepage image for an office replacement request app. The app's color scheme should include white as the main color, dark purple as the primary color, and Pantone magenta as the supplementary color. The page should feature a welcoming message and include 4 menu items. The menus should be clearly labeled and visually distinct. The design should be clean, user-friendly, and convey a professional yet approachable atmosphere. If you compare this prompt to our supporting details, you can see that we've included all of the details from our drawing board, and all that is left now is for us to run this AI prompt in Copilot.
Okay.
Now we are in Copilot, and you can choose your conversation style. And one thing I noticed was that if I was using the creative style, the results tend to be better for generating images. It might be coincidence, but I don't know, that's just how it was for me. But then if you want to generate like factual data or stuff where you need the details to be actually as correct as possible, you have to use the balanced or the precise conversation style. All right, so let's paste our prompt inside of the chat and run it. And right away, Copilot will then begin doing its stuff in the backend and try to generate an image for us based on the details that we've provided it. And you can see it has given us some images, and I think some are all right, some are meh, but you know, you can always fine-tune the prompt and add more details to it. So looking at the prompt, I think one thing that was missing is that we want this app to be used on a desktop browser. So we didn't add that. So obviously it was adding foreign tab, also desktop and all, but we want most of the design to be desktop based. So let's modify our prompt to add that. So inside of the prompt, we'll just add it here. So generate a modern looking homepage for an office replacement request app to be mainly used in the browser, to be mainly used in the web browser. Yeah. So let's run that and see what it comes up with. This is the image that it has brought out. So apparently I didn't even specify it clearly. I just said to be mainly used in a web browser, and we can have a browser on the phone.
Stupid guy.
So let's specify it to be desktop browser. So this is the importance of adding as much details as possible in your prompts. So let's see what it brings out now. And we can see that it has given us some better designs that fit our needs. Since we said we want it to be on a desktop browser, it has given us the viewport for that design, and some of the designs are all right, and you can always run the prompt as many times as possible until you get, you know, something that you want to use or it suits you. So I'm just going to do all of that in the backend until I get something.
2,000 years later.
So after some tests, I finally found the design I'm comfortable with. I also switched to my personal account. Maybe that can influence the results a bit. So this was the design I found, and this one I think is really clean and really cool, and it speaks to the design I want to use. So I'm just going to click on it, and you can see the prompt, and then you also have the opportunity to download the image. So I'm just going to download that and check it out. Looking at the design in detail, I think it's actually really cool. We have the logo, we have the welcome message, we have the 4 distinct menu items. So I think the only thing that I don't like about this is the colors at the bottom. So rather than having different shades of colors at the bottom, that I think that might be sort of distracting, I'm just going to use something else. And luckily, the design beside the design beside this design was actually something that I think we can use. So looking at the third design, we are going to use the menu items from this design. So inside of this one, we just have a plain background with a menu title, menu description, and menu button. So we're going to use that inside of our design. So our design is going to be a combination of the fourth export and the fourth generation and the third generation image generation rather. So yeah, we're going to mix those up into our own Power App. So one other thing I want to mention is that you might have to run the prompts multiple times. You might have to even change your prompt a little because sometimes the images are just weird. Take a look at this one, for example. Why is the monitor so big? And why does the UI look like it was designed in like 2010 or something?
I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
So don't be discouraged if your first few results are not what you expected. Then the next question is, what do you do in case of images, or how do you handle images for your AI generated images? So for example, in this mockup that we want to use, it has an image on the right side. So how do you do that? So the first option is what I would mostly do, and this is for cases where there is no text on the images. So what you do is we are going to crop this and upscale the image using AI. So I'm going to crop it and then save this image and then go upscale it using AI. So the tool I am using is I love IMG. So the link is iloveimg.com. So iloveimg.com, and it has an upscale image tool. So that's what we are going to use to upscale it. So I think this one has like two images per day or something like that. And so this is what I'm going to use. So I've selected the image that we just cropped, and you can see it has upscaled it for us from 413 to 76 to 826 by 552. And I think that's great. You can also go by a 4 times multiplier, and that will even upscale it even more to make it even clearer and even sharper. And all you need to do is click upscale, and it's go ahead and download the image for you. So once it has upscaled it, you can download the image, and I think you can now use it in your Power Apps or wherever you want to use it for your project. The next option is if the image has a lot of text or has a lot of objects on it, and you can't just crop it and upscale it. So in this case, you can opt for using Copilot to generate the image for you, just the image. But note that this can be rather tough because you might not get the exact image that you want to use. So this one was a mock-up that I generated using Copilot, and I also want to then generate the image separately. So when I tried it, I think this was the best that seemed the closest to it, and even this is not exactly what we had in that previous image. So it can be really tough and you might not be able to get it. And the last option is just get another image to use. Get one that fits your app. Trying to get an image that is similar to what the mockup generated might just take you a whole lot of time. So just look for another image that also fits your app and then use that for your project. So now we have everything we need to build the app. We have the mockup, we have the colors, we have the images that we are going to embed, and all of those. So all that is left is for us to jump into Power App Studio and implement it on our app. So now we're in Power App Studio. I've added a new screen to serve as the home screen, and now we are going to set up our layout based on our mockup. Looking at our mockup, you will notice that it is divided into 3 vertical sections, one for the header, one for the welcome message and the image, and last one for the menu items. The only difference is that we are going to add in a left section to serve as the one for our side navigation. So let's do our layout now. So back in Power App Studio, we are going to use Copilot to do the base layout and then build on that. Okay, and let's send that. So we're adding a horizontal container and then a left container and a right container. Left container being for the menu and the right container being for the page contents. So I will change this to be a vertical container since that's the layout we want for the items, Let's also add in a gap of 15, and let's add in padding all around it of 16. 16, 16, 16. Yeah, that's cool. And then we are going to add in 3 horizontal containers inside of this. So I can just type that here, add 3 containers, add 3 containers in container 8. So it has added the 3 containers. So let's just modify this. This one, we want it to just be 50 since that's the height of our menu item. And there, using Copilot, we are done with our layout, quick and easy. So all that is left is to begin adding in the components.
Very nice.
The next thing to do is to add the page content. But before that, it has come to my attention that 82% of viewers are not subscribed to the channel.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
If you've learned something in this video or this series, please like the video and subscribe to the channel to get notified when I release new content. So let's get back to our video. Let's begin adding in our page content. But before that, I want to clear the drop shadow on these 3 since we don't need any drop shadow. Right, and that's cool. So let's add in our side navigation to the left. We'll just copy the one we have here, so we'll not have to do so much configuration. So copy, paste, make sure it stretches to fill the container, and then the width, I think the width is fine. Let's also set the width of its parent container to match the width of the component. So side navigation dot width. So if we expand it, the container expands with it. So that's cool. Let's also change the background to match the rest of the app. So we're going to set the fill of this root container to our custom theme dot primary color. All right, so we've added that in. I will also increase the drop shadow of this one to semi-bold, so just so it can be more pronounced. I also removed the border radius since we don't need that. All right, cool. So let's also copy the header. So I'm just going to copy the image and the logo, paste that in here. So I would also rename this to Office Item Request System. All right, cool. So we are done with the top. Now let's move to this. Inside of this second container, we are going to have 2 containers, one for the welcome message and the other one for the images. So let's add that. So I'm going to add in a container, this time a vertical container, and then we're going to add in another container for the image. So container, another one, so it should be outside it, not inside it. Cool. So I want the image to take up 45% and then the welcome image to take up 55% of the width. So let's modify that in the few portions. So I'm going to set this one to 55 and set this one to 35. So the image will be here, the text will be here. So let's do the image since it's easier. So I'm going to add in an image control, cool, and make sure that fills the container. I'm going to set it to stretch, set the minimum width to 0, and then turn on flexible height and set the minimum height to 0. So it's going to fill in that container. And then let's upload our image. So I've uploaded the image, so all that's left now is to just add it inside of this. So we've added the image and I want to set it to fill so that I can fill the whole control. Then I would also clear the drop shadow and border radius for these ones. So now let's begin with the left side. We're going to add in 2 text labels. So copy, paste that. So we have 2 labels. Then select the 2 of them and make sure it is set to stretch. So it's going to fill the whole width of the parent container. Let's say minimum width is 0. And then I'm going to set it to be the center, set it to use little for now. We will change that shortly. And then we're going to turn on flexible height for them. Cool. And then we're going to, since we also want to have a button at the bottom, let's add in a container for that. So I'm going to add in another container. This time it's going to be a horizontal container. First of all, I'll clear the drop shadow and the border radius. All right, cool. So let's begin styling our text. So for this one, we're going to add in the text here. I want it to be little black, and I want it to be 35. Let's set it to bold. I think it will be better on the right side, sorry, on the left side. That's cool. Then inside of its parent, let's add in a little bit of left padding. So left padding of 30, and let me also add the bottom padding of 30. Cool. For this other one, I'm going to add in this text here. I'm going to change it to little light. Little light is better. Let's also move it to the left and set it to 11. And that looks cool. But then let me turn off flexible height and turn on auto height, so it will just be big enough to contain its content. And then for this one, I don't want it to be that big, so I'm going to turn off flexible height and set it to 60. So this is where we'll keep our call to action buttons, and then we have the welcome messages at the top. Now let's add in the call to action buttons. I don't just want to use the normal button control, since I want to do a custom button that has icons inside of it. So to do that, I'm going to add in a non-responsive container that will house this button, and then I want the height. I'm going to set the alignment to center and set the height to 35, and then for the width, I'm going to turn off flexible width and then set it to 200. That should be okay. And then inside of this, I'm going to add in a text label and make sure it fills the container. So I'm going to set X and Y to 0, and then the width, I'm going to set that to parent the width, and then the height, I'm going to set that to parent dot height. I'm going to set the text to be centered, and let's change it to little black, and then set the font size to 10. Let's also change this to semi-bold. Right, and then I'm going to add in a right padding to just increase that by 25, just so there's space for our icon. So I'm going to embed an SVG icon inside of this. I'm going to use an image control for that. Set the height to 20 should be okay, I guess. Height and width to 20, just so it can be square. 20. Let's increase it to 25, just so it's a little bit bigger. 25. And then for the Y, I want the Y value, I want it to be vertically centered, or vertically centered. Sorry, I'm going to set that to parent.height minus self.height divided by 2. So that will make it vertically centered. And then as for the X, I'm just going to just do some testing on that until I find one that is fine. I think 120 is okay. 118, 117. Oh, crap. I've already undone the Y value. Okay. Alright, cool. So 117, I think that should be fine. So then let's embed our SVG icon in this. I'm going to select the image control and then embed that. So I'm embedding an info icon. So if you don't know so much about embedding SVGs into your app, I've done a previous video on this, so check the Modern PowerApps UI series, the chapter on SVG management, and you see how I explained all of the things you need to know about embedding SVGs. All right, cool. So the next thing is I want this button to be the same as the magenta we're using around the app. So let's just change that. So for the fill of this one, the fill of the parent container, I'm going to set that to custom theme dot tertiary color. So that's our pink. For the text, I'm going to set that to, let's just use white. Then I'm going to add in a border radius of 30 on the parent container and set the drop shadow think semi-bold should be all right. And then I'm going to set the border to none. So okay, semi-bold is too much, so let's say semi-light. All right, that looks way better. Cool. So then we need to just make this clickable. So let's add in an actual button control. So this is where we add in our on select and all of those. So we're going to set the X and Y value to 0. Make sure you use the container by setting the width to parent width and the height to parent.height. Then we are going to set the fill to transparent, and then we need to set the pressed fill. So pressed fill, where is pressed fill? Pressed fill to the pressed fill that we use on the rest of our app. So that's custom theme dot far pressed fill. So that is a transparent black. And then for the hover fill, we're going to set that to this also. Hover fill, bar overfill. Cool. I think I set the fill to white instead of transparent, so it should be transparent. And then let's also clear the text since we don't. And now we have our custom button. So all we need to do is add in. You can add in the value you want to do in the on select property. So if you wanted to navigate to a page, well, I'm not going to do that since we don't have any page for that. This is going to change the label to say help, since it to be like a call to action if they want to ask how to work the app. And then we're going to just add one more for submitting a new request. I'm going to just copy this and paste it again. So let's add in a little bit of padding. So let's say 10 should be fine. Yeah, so it's separated. Cool. And then for this one, I actually want it to be transparent. So I'm going to do color dot transparent. And then for the border, I'm going to set that to solid, set the border to 2, and then set the border color to a primary or secondary color. So that's custom theme dot secondary color. So that will match the app, and then just change the text also. So the text also is going to use custom theme dot secondary color. And then for the icon, I'm going to also change that to secondary color underscore text. Cool. Oh, I don't think let's remove we don't need what's it called now. I don't think we need the icon. And then for the button text, we're going to set it to submit new requests. All right, cool. And then since there is no icon, we can just set the right padding back to 5 so it is centered. And yeah, that looks clean and beautiful.
Made me happy, made me smile. Nice.
So the next thing is the last section, which is where we're going to put in our individual menu items. Then let's add in the gallery. So it's going to be a horizontal gallery, blank horizontal gallery. Yeah. Then for the container, I want to add in a 30 padding all around it, so there will be space between the gallery and the edge of the container. So 30 all around. So that is great. So now let's set the data source for our gallery. I'm just going to use the same data source we are using for our site navigation component, since it's the same thing. Maybe the only difference is that I'll remove the menu item for the home. So let's just copy that. So you go into the formulas and copy the whole table, and then we can modify it as needed. So this one for the gallery, for the items, I'm just going to paste that and then remove the first one, which is the home button, and then just leave the rest. Let me also clear the semicolon, and that's cool. Now the next thing is to begin adding in the gallery items or the gallery components and all. So a question I get asked a lot of times is they have issues adding in controls inside of the gallery. So for example, I selected the gallery and clicked adding a text label, but it's adding it outside of the gallery. So what you need to do, let's face it, what you need to do is to first select the gallery. If you're having that issue, first select the gallery, and then this icon here, click that, and then that would select the template. And once that is selected, if you add in any item or any control, it adds it inside of your gallery. So that's just the fix for that. So in my case, I'm going to add in a container. In this case, anyone is fine. So let's just add in a vertical container. I did the same thing. Oh good. All right, so select this, select the templates, and then yeah, now it's correct now. So make sure you use the template, the gallery's template, by setting x to 0 and y to 0, and then the width and height to parent the template width. So parent the template width, and then the height should be parent dot template height. Yeah, so you've used the template now. So I'm just going to clear the drop shadow and the border radius since we do not want that. Then let me add in a 10 padding of 10 all around it, so the items inside it won't have to be touching the borders. And then inside of this, I'm now going to add in another container, and this will be the actual gallery items. So for this one, it's going to be a vertical container, and I would set it to, let's say, border radius should be 40, and set the drop shadow to regular. And then this is what is going to contain what's it called now, items. So as for the width of the template, I want it to just contain only 4 items without having to, you know, scroll through it. So what we are going to do is to change the template size. Before that, let's remove the template padding and then change the template size. So we are going to do self.width divided by self.all items count. So this will make it so that it only has enough space for its items. All right, so now that the layout is done, let's begin adding in the components. So first, I'm going to add in a text label, then set its alignment to stretch, set the minimum weight to 0, set it to centered, set the font type to little black and increase it to 14. Let's also say semi-bold. And then as for the text, it's going to be this item, but menu name. Then I'm going to turn on flexible height. Yeah, that's all right. So let's just copy and paste it. And then for this one, the text will be this item, the menu description. We're going to change the font to little light, reduce it to 11, set its font style to normal, and yeah. Then we also want to have the button at the bottom. So since we've done something similar before, I'm just going to copy this whole container and paste it here. Then inside of this one, we do not need the second one, the second button, we just need the first one. And then for this one, let's make it properly centered. So we're going to select the parent container and set its justify to center so it can be in the center. As for the height, I'm going to increase it to, let's say, 45. I think that is all right. 45 should be all right. And yeah, that looks cool. Let's change the text of the label to proceed. And then I will change the icon from info circle to, what's it, chevron, right, chevron. Yeah, cool. Then I'm going to turn on flexible height for the parent container, so it will have 3 equally sized contents, one for the menu name, one for the menu description, and one for the button. Let me also move this one a little bit to the right. So I'm going to increase the x value, 124 seems all right. All right, cool. And then the last thing we need to do is the button. So on select of the button, we want it to navigate to the respective page. So on select of the button, I'm going to say navigate to this item dot menu or dot page navigation, since that's where the page is. Cool. And all that's left is to test it out. So before that, I think we can, instead of just request, we can say maybe view item request or view or add requests, so it doesn't look too small inside of it. So let's change the menu names a bit. So I'm going to go into your data source and add in just a little more info for the menu names. Okay, that looks better. All right, so let's see it in preview mode. We have our home screen. We have the ability to go to the request page, can come back to the home page, go back to the feedback page.
Nice.
That brings us to the end of the second video in this PowerApps Copilot series. With what we've learned so far, you should now be able to use PowerApps Copilot to increase your productivity while building your PowerApps solutions. If you've enjoyed this video or at least learned something, please like the video and also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button to get notified when I release new content. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.